Hello, this is video quiz number 3, and for question 1, the most important things I learned about nonverbal communication is that it takes up a majority of communication in a workhouse between coworkers. I didn't know the concept of distance that can be viewed as negative or positive. Distance can mean status or intimacy of exchange, and it can also mean too much distance. Too much distance can mean two people don't like each other. And then I know it said in other cultures it can be a sign of attraction. And then I also read in a larger setting, if a boss communicates through a distant manner, such as emails or through calls you into the office, that can just be a sign of status, as opposed to in a smaller business setting where a boss communicates distantly, it can be not a good thing, because in smaller settings, co-workers tend to communicate in a closely tight manner. And then for the second one, so I know that certain nonverbal communication can tell what you can bring into the workhouse, and I read things such as if you take up a lot of space when talking by moving your arms, it can indicate that you're a good informer and a good listener, which is a good attribute to an organization. And it also said if you begin a movement with force then decelerate, you are considered a gentle touch. And these are both side-to-side movements. And I know paired with position of the body, movements of the limbs, and facial expression, they all relate in combination to nonverbal communication. So, for question number 2, why is nonverbal communication relevant when studying communication organization? Nonverbal communication is important when studying communication organization because it can help understand how people feel about the organization and about their co-workers and what they can bring to the organization. Nonverbal communication can tell about a person's personality, and with online communication, nonverbal still applies in the same way, such as eye contact, posture, body movements. Communicating what you're trying to say and how you feel at the moment. It's always best to remain professional in front of colleagues. So for question 3, two things I learned outside of nonverbal communication is the article about the internal communication during COVID crisis. I already knew from researching and watching the news about how organizations are transitioning during the COVID crisis. I knew of a lot of the organizations were coming up with communication plans internally and externally to make sure that everyone knows the policies and procedures of what they are trying to do to prevent the spread of the COVID and how also to cope with it. I knew many organizations were coming up with communication plans if someone gets affected within the organizations. I know that a lot of organizations were coming up with work from home plans, also pay during this. Different organizations raise pay during this crisis if you are in an essential business. They also create a communication plan with outside, such as contractors, so they can continue business as possible. I think it's a good idea to educate people and employees on the outbreak and how to prevent it. It gives the employees a trust in the organization, showing that they care about the company and the employees that work for them in time of a worldwide pandemic. Pandemic. So And then for the body language video, I already know about body language as I am a big person on body language. I talk with my body. I have a lot of different facial expressions that I make that are not always good, but I have learned to, especially with being in communication, I've learned to tone it down. Growing up, I was always taught that a poor body language is slouching, and you always want to sit up straight with your back straight against the chair to show grace and professionalism. I was always taught to make eye contact, and when shaking hands with somebody, make sure that you have a firm grip. And that's all we have for today. Thank you.